and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. This is our first episode for season 3. I cannot believe we are already in season 3. It has just been amazing, and I want to give a special shout out and salute to E360 TV, our host home, and to those of you who are joining on Facebook, LinkedIn, and other streaming platforms. Welcome, welcome. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group, and I love all things books. And the one thing that's so amazing about this platform is it allows me to spotlight and feature women authors and books that are designed to help elevate and expand women in their lives and in their business. And today we have a special book that we're going to feature, which is called Chosen with Esther. Chosen with Esther by David Ramos. And I'm also excited because I have a special guest who will be joining me later today, who is a purpose strategist, and that is none other than Barbara Beckley. And this show is also being sponsored by the, I want to make sure that I get this right. It's the Resilient Brave Heart Conference that will be held in Branson, Missouri, hosted by Jill Reynolds. Again, the Resilient Brave Heart Conference, and that is our sponsor for this evening. And we are going to get right into this book about Chosen with Esther. And I want to bring to the stage Miss Barbara Beckley. How's it going, Barbara?
Hello, lady, and your wonderful audience. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. The reason why I thought it was so timely, Barbara, for you to join me on this platform, and we share numerous platforms together, is your entire push, your why is really about purpose. I mean, you call yourself a purpose strategist. So can you walk us through what that means? And if you don't mind, before we get into the book, just give us a little snippet about your story and why you are so impassioned with helping individuals to uncover and discover their purpose.
Yeah. Thank you, LaWanna. Again, I appreciate being on the show. So the biggest push I have is because I started at the age of 7, and to take you all the way through, even in my 40s, where a lot of people was saying I didn't have value. A lot of people said that I didn't have purpose. And as you can hear, I'm saying a lot of people, and it was a lot. Bullied my own mother sometime. Love her dearly, though. Love her dearly. But I was in that effect because it seemed like I was never good enough. People, when I was growing up in college, it just all happened. And I just told myself one day that the madness has to stop. I had to make it and say to myself, if I can conquer this, I don't want anybody else ever thinking, first of all, that they're not valued. And second of all, that they don't have a purpose. I always tell people we were born because of purpose of what you have, because of your uniqueness, because of who you are. But a lot of times with the noises and the sounds and even our own noise in our head, because it went from people telling me stuff to then it started getting into my heart and my head saying, well, maybe I'm just here, just roaming around the earth. And no, you weren't meant to do that. You were meant to walk around the earth and hold your true purpose. So that's the push I do. And I call myself a purpose and visibility strategist because I want people to really know. I say purpose first, because everything after that doesn't matter if you don't know your true being of what you're here for. And then you can sit there not apologizing for it and not have to defend it, but just say, you know what, I'm sitting in my purpose. It's up to you to like it or not. And you move forward because that is your destiny and that's your journey.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you gave us a little bit, but for those of you who don't know Barbara, I encourage you to follow her on all things social media and do a deep dive in her story. She gave you a little taste of it, but it's amazing. Some of the parallels that we're going to talk about in this book and how you see the same thing in Barbara's life, and you may even see similarities in your life. And so this book, I have a typo here. Let me correct that. It is Chosen with Esther. Chosen with Esther. And to give you a little story about who is Esther. Well, Esther is a woman in the Bible. She's known for being a woman of courage. She is a queen. She is resilient. She is empowered. But was she always that way? Her life went through a journey. Her life went through a series of not so good experiences. Those trials and tribulations, Barbara calls them, those earthquakes and storms in your life, right? That just hit you. She found herself in a foreign land. She was a Jewish woman in a foreign land. She was orphaned, and she was taken care of by her uncle Mordecai. Because of the views of Jews at that time, she hid her identity. Now think about that. Have you ever gone through life where you were not feeling secure in who you were, perhaps the skin that you're in, and you find yourself, trying to hide a little bit. You don't want people to know your background. You don't want them to know your past. You don't want them to know the ash and trash. But the one thing that we know, again, we're talking about a biblical character, but the Bible says he makes beauty from ashes, right? So God can take all the ash and trash in our life and work it to our good. So we'll fast forward a little bit about her story just to set context, and then Barbara and I are going to have a conversation around this particular book. This book is a devotional, and it's a 20-day devotional. So I encourage you that if you are a person who is seeking, or what are you supposed to be doing at this point in time in your life? Or maybe you have a child that is struggling with their identity and where they fit in. This book, this devotional, may help guide you through it, because it takes a 20-day journey, and it reflects on Esther's life and then gives you things to reflect on. And then it allows you a very simple prayer to put at the end. So at that time in Persia, King Xerxes was very extravagant. He did all things big. And he decided he was going to throw a party. Now, we've heard of, parties that may last 3, 4, 5 days. This was a 6-month party, Barbara, because he wanted to showcase to all the leaders of the land his wealth, his extravagance. Well, during that time, they were enjoying this party, enjoying the festivities. That was the main banquet, again, 6-month banquet. And his queen had a lesser role, but she had a smaller banquet, which the Bible doesn't tell us a lot about. But what this author, David Ramos, tells us is that because Xerxes was such a proud man, right, proud of all that he had, he wanted to parade his queen. And her name was Queen Vashti, in front of everyone. Well, she was the queen. Back then, if you were parading a woman in front of everyone, that was like parading a prostitute and a concubine. And she said no. Well, that didn't go very well. Because what King Xerxes did was he banished her. He actually had his advisors all come together, because his wife said no, to change the law of the land to say women will submit and obey their husbands. That decree. So I want to pause right there, Barbara, and I want to toss it to you. What do you want to say to individuals who may find themselves in a situation where it goes against their value system, their beliefs, And they're struggling with, should I say no? Or do I say yes just to go with the flow and avoid conflict and controversy?
Well, I always say, and a lot of people probably say this too, count up the cost, and say, look at the bigger picture. And is this something that you really believe in and trust in your gut and your heart? Then you go for it. It's funny you asked me this question because I just had a talk with another young lady. She's in her 20s and she's trying to fight something against in her college. And she just called me. She said, Barbara, what should I do? I mean, if I do this, I might even get taken out of school because I'm going to go against something. And I told her, I said, either way you go right now, first of all, I'm going to care for you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to love you. So I want to put that out there to her first because she needed to hear that before the next thing that I was going to tell her. And I said, if you truly believe in it and you stand in ground on it, no matter what, and I always say the hurricanes and all that comes, you stand on your truth. You stand on your purpose of what you're trying to do there, because that's about you. Because at the end of the day, when everything is all whatever, going whatever, you have to be true to yourself and you have to feel confident in you. And that's what usually I say to people.
I love that. And that's great advice. And it's a little frightening when you're going to go against the norm, when you're going to go against authority. Because keep in mind, Vashti, she was the queen and she said no to her king. So he banished her. He's like, he didn't say off with your head like King Henry VIII did, but he banished her. And I want to read this part in the book. It says, David says, reminds us that nothing of your story is by accident. The way you look, the way you speak, what happened to you in the past, where you're living now, even the fact that you're reading this book, all of it was by design to get you where you need to be so you can begin to fulfill the calling that was assigned to you to do.
Yes.
And Barbara, I mean, you're a testament to that sometimes we go through, we don't understand it, right? We see in part, sometimes we don't see it at all. All we see is darkness and we're fighting and screaming against it.
Yeah.
But then when we look back, it suddenly all makes sense, right?
Yeah. And the other thing, just to add to that, is even though, and I was going back to the young lady, and I told her, even when you stand your truth, because I know she's standing it because she really believes in it. So I knew she was going to this charge. Even if it doesn't work out the way that you want it to work out, or you got shut down, and I told her this because you might just get shut down and have to move forward. Look at everybody else that's watching. I always say it's bigger, because if they see that you're standing ground on something that you believe in, look at all the other people that's going to come, all the people behind you, all the people that's in front of you is saying she's taking a stand. She don't care what happens because she believes in her truth. That's legacy that you're putting there. That's something that people can think about. So I always say, even when I do what I do, or I stand on my truth, if nothing comes of it in my lifetime, I know I stood ground, and hopefully somebody seen that and said, you know what, I'm going to stand mine too. I want to take the chance no matter what, because it might not help me at my time, but it might help somebody else that's looking to say, yes, I have to believe in what I'm doing.
Exactly. I love that. Well, let's go back to the story a little bit. So old queen is gone. Now the king Xerxes is thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I don't have a queen. So again, his advisors, they get together. They're like, we'll find you a queen. Now remember, I told you Esther, she's orphaned. She's being cared for by her uncle Mordecai. She's in a foreign land. She actually changed her Jewish name to Esther so she wouldn't draw attention to herself. And she is one of the women called to possibly be the queen. Now, during this time, and it's many, many months, 6 months, 8 months, where these women are being prepared for their audience with the king. They each get one night with the king. Think about that, what that means, without me saying it. So whatever they needed to do to glam up, to glitz up, to do whatever, to get their bling factor on so that they could be attractive to the king. Well, Esther, when it was her time to be called into the king, she minimized everything because she was a natural beauty. And she said, I am just going as I am. I want to sit right there for a minute. How many of you are comfortable in who you are? That you know your value, that it doesn't depend on the outside, weaves, nails, whatever it is, makeup to show the world who you are. Barbara, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, because it like I said, it goes back to who you are in here. So when this expresses even more so. I'm not saying, people, I'm not saying, we're not sitting here saying that don't put makeup on or whatever. I don't want people to be like, well, what you trying to say, Barbara? I don't want that either. And then I don't want the other option to come and say, well, if I don't wear makeup, I'm not worthy. No, you're worthy because of this, because of you, because of who you are, what you do, and what you believe in. And that's what I always push, because we get caught up again in all of that. And you can lose yourself in a certain sense because you feel like you have to do this.
I love that. Her uncle told her, this is why God brought you to the palace. Maybe your life's journey has brought you to this point for a reason, to save your people.
Bigger picture.
So again, sometimes we get caught up in the external, that we are not connected to the divine guidance system that's there, whatever your faith may be, and that we miss the mark, right? And we find ourselves struggling, like, why am I here? Because she could have been asking herself, and I'm certain she did, I'm just here hanging out with my uncle. Why do I now have to go to the palace? Why do I now have to do this one night thing with the king? Why me? Your value system should only be affirmed by someone else, but it shouldn't be based on what someone else says about you. And I know I hear there's different messages, but if you truly know, she knew not only who she was, but whose she was, right? So when you uncover the truth of who and whose you are, who you belong to, there's no, like that song, ain't no stopping us now.
Yes, it was like, when you said it like that, when I was like, yes.
Right. So Barbara, let's go to you for a little bit, because your company is called Diamond Factor Experience. You are always reminding women, especially, I mean, you talk to men, but women especially, that they should shine like a diamond. But you always refer to them as queen. So let's look at the parallels here. We see diamonds as having value, right? It's what we place on them. She saw her value, but she was also soon to be crowned queen. Barbara.
See, the thing is, and maybe I might, tell me if I'm wrong, but I seen her and a lot of ladies as queens before they even got the crown. And that's why I call lady queens, because a lot of times I know that we get caught up in stuff and we forget who we truly are and that gift we have in them. That's why I always do that reminder of, you're queen, you're royalty. Even if you don't know it, even if you've thought about it before, even if you look at me saying, Barbara, you're great. Barbara, really? Okay, I'm queen. Yes, because I want you to own who you are, because I don't want nobody sitting there saying nothing less than you. So if I had to say that every day, all the time, over and over again, I know some people be like, okay, here she go again. I mean, it's just funny because it just spits out of my mouth. It's like part of my language. I don't even know. I can't even stop it because I believe in that for women, that they are true queens before they even crown the king. See, it was just confirmation for Esther just to get the queen status. She was always that queen. She was that queen when she was fighting. She was that queen when she had to make that decision. She was that queen when she was the orphan. She was that queen. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you put that. So let's go back to the story a little bit. So she's queen, and there's this dissension that someone's trying to overthrow the king, and word gets back to the king. Her uncle Mordecai is saying, "Hey, be careful." So now Mordecai becomes endearing to the king, and the king ends up executing the two traitors. In the meantime, another person comes on the scene, and his name is Haman. Well, Haman and Mordecai, I'm not going to give you the whole story, just little snippets. Haman and Mordecai don't get along. And because everyone was to kneel and to bow before Haman, Mordecai refused. So now Haman's all beside himself. So there's lessons in all these people. He's all in himself. Like, how dare this person not bow to me? Does he not know who I am? And I think we all know people like that, right? That are a little proud, a little pompous, a little arrogant, like, deserving, put themselves in that seat of, I'm deserving of this homage. Then he goes to the king and he says, you know what? I think we need to do something about these obstinate Jewish people. Now, he doesn't just deal with Mordecai, who he has an issue with. He convinces the king, which is amazing because the king had his whole council to come together to deal with the queen issue. But just he and Haman talk about what they're going to do to the whole Jewish people. So it was decreed in 11 months, the people of the land were given the authority to kill their Jewish neighbors and take their possessions. Because someone had an attitude, right? I got issues, so now I'm going to punish everybody. Okay, so think about yourself. If there's something stirring up in you that's brewing, that's making you angry, and you're upset, and you're lashing out, ask yourself why. What is it in you that's actually being reflected back to you? Right? Is it really all about that person, or is the issue within you? Is this a time for you to humble yourself? Right? Pride comes before the fall. Humble yourself.
Yes.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Well, there's this decree out there. People are scared. Mordecai's like, Esther, you're there. You're in earshot of the king. I need you to go talk to the king. She's looking at her uncle like, have you lost your mind? He already banished queen number one. He may kill me. He may kill you. Is that really what we want to do? Let me read you this piece. The author says, is there something you're scared to do? Or something you put off doing? Not just for days, but perhaps for years. Is there a calling on your life that you've ignored, or convinced yourself that even though you feel the desire to pursue it, it's just not what God has for you? See, Mordecai helped Esther to overcome her fear by calling out her purpose. Sometimes there's someone else, look at the parallel, Barbara, calling out the purpose, the diamond. Right before we even see it, they're speaking that life into us. It says, purpose is what turns obstacles into opportunities. When we have expended every ounce of our energy and hope, purpose is what comes in and refuels our tanks. Where Esther saw fear and the possibility of pain, Mordecai saw opportunity. Esther was there for a reason. Barbara, over to you.
I just, every time I think of that, I just get blown away. See, he's seen it. Like I said, sometimes people see it before you do. That's why she was put there. I always tell people, it's a bigger picture. You're a part of that picture, but it's a bigger picture to stand in your own truth and in your own purpose. And that's why Esther was there. That's why everything played out the way it did.
Yes. So we're going to fast forward. So again, we want you to read the story. We want you to read it, let it germinate, percolate, and then ask yourself, how do these different lessons from all these people apply to you? So again, this orphan child raised by her uncle, elevated to queen status, placed in a position of risk, and moves forward anyway. Yeah. Someone reminds her of her purpose. And she says, if I perish, I perish for such a time as this. That's a pretty profound statement.
Yeah.
How many of us can say that we have such a sense of knowing that we're going to put it all on the line? And when we think about some of our greats that have gone before us, whether it's civil rights, human rights, other activists who have literally lost their lives because of that passion, because of that purpose.
Yeah.
How wedded are you to yours? Yeah. Or are you quick to say, oh, no, that wasn't me. I didn't say that. They say, take, hey, if you believe in this, step forward, and you're 2 steps back because you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be heard. You don't want your truth and what you stand for to really be disclosed. It's easy to be around the masses.
Yeah.
It's easy to go with the flow rather than go against the current.
Yes.
Or to be the one making the waves, right?
Yes.
Barbara.
And that's why when you think about it, to this day, they're still talking about Esther because of the stand she took. To this day, LaWanna mentioned about other, people that have took so many, made a decision and a risk to even lose their life, to lose their family, to lose what they wanted to do probably in their lives. But they took that stand because they knew that purpose in them was there to do what they needed to do. And now we're still talking about her and looking at the different characteristics and everything of what she's done because she stood her ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge the conference that I mentioned earlier, and I want to show this video. And it's just so timely. This conference is going to be August 19th and 20th if you're able to attend. But it's taking the lesson of Esther. And actually, there's a play that precedes the conference. I think the play might be, on Thursday the 18th, but there's a play about Esther. And then you go into this conference. So it's pretty exciting. Here we go.
Beginning of time, God has commissioned women from around the world to mentor, encourage, teach and train tweens, teens, college students and young women to be courageous and fearless women of God. In 2023, Queen Esther's need to rise up to save our nation and the generations to come. Receiving a crown of beauty for ashes, God has called older women to teach younger women that they are good enough and are wanted by a king who wants them to arise as resilient Queen Esthers and to live wisely, purely, and be good. Join us for 2 days at Yakov Theater in Branson, Missouri on Saturday, August 19th, 2023 and Sunday, August 20th, 2023 for Resilient Brave Hearts Women Conference. For such a time as this, come in a day early to see Esther at Sight and Sound Theater.
Hi, I'm Jill Reynolds with Resilient Brave Heart. For such a time as this, coming to Branson, Missouri, August 19th to 20th, 2023. We will be meeting at Yakov's Theater, and I'm so excited for the event. No longer broken and becoming the best you will be joining us at this event. It's for all women of all ages, from 12 years old to 100. You don't want to miss this event. Come to Branson and be with us for this amazing weekend of hope, health, and healing.
Register now by going to braveheartworkshops.com.
So for those of you who are able to make it to Branson to be a part of the Esther experience in this conference, we encourage you, please do so. Reach out to Jill Reynolds. You can find her on all things social media and also her website, and just learn more. And it's all about that discovery, right? And being empowered to step into our truths, our purpose, our why. And if you're one of those individuals that are seeking that and struggling with, how do I uncover it? I know what I'm good at. I know what I like. But there's a difference between what you're good at and what you like in your purpose. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I believe in a lot of things. And I think that our purpose, depending on where we are in our life's journey, may take on different faces. But at this point in time in my life, I know specifically what I am intended to do. And I'm very vocal about it. I was telling Barbara, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm always talking about the Bradford Group or the Bradford Group Consulting. And I had to really sit into this because it made me feel uncomfortable. I said, wow, LaWanna, you're actually hiding behind your company's brand. Who are you really? What do you really stand for? What is your purpose? And are you shouting it from the rooftop? Or are you sitting in this seat where it's comfortable? I'm like the Wiz, right? Or the Wizard. I'm being the puppeteer from behind the scenes. And it's like, no, it's time to come to the forefront. My passion needs to not be questioned. It needs to be known. And some people may agree with it. Some people may not. Some people may agree with my approach. Some people may not. But the one thing no one can deny, it is mine. Barbara.
I'm so glad that you're doing that, because you are just an epitome of what I look at as the queen bee, and what you do in your lane and helping so many others. So I'm glad that you're like, wait a minute, this is going to change. And I'm telling you, like I always say, people always mess with me when I say, and she's blowing up. So
yeah,
be true to yourself on that. Yeah.
And change is sometimes a little fearful because you've been doing certain things a certain way. Does this mean my companies go away? Absolutely not. But there is a LaWanna Bradford brand. There is something that until I draw my last breath, I am going to be doing. And the world needs to hear it, know it, see it, experience it. Right? It's not just about talking. It's the walking. It's pretty amazing when you start getting confirmation back from people who are seeing the same thing in you, and you're like, okay, this is good. That transparency is coming forward. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm one thing and then being something else. Mm-hmm. It's very clear, but it took some courage, because it's a pretty bold message. It's a pretty bold call to action that I have for women. If you had told me I was going to be doing this 8 years ago, I would have said, no, there's no way. Didn't make sense. But now I get, so just like with Esther, all of her life's experiences, trials, tribulations, triumphs, all added up to that time, for such a time as this. Mm-hmm. And Barbara can share, her story too. The same thing. When she looks back, it's like the dots all connect, right? They all connect, Barbara.
Yeah, I believe me, I would have never thought. I'm like LaWanna, I would have never thought I would be here in this place in this time talking about all of this back in the day, because I didn't even think I qualified for that. I mean, that's how bad it was for me. And to sit now and really hold on to it. And when people even sit there and start talking negative or whatever, I'm like, this is the purpose I have. I've been chosen. LaWanna's been chosen. You've been chosen. And I said, look at that bigger picture. When you stand, there's going to be, you might not see a lot of people standing next to you at that time, but there's so many people standing in front of you, behind you, because now they're learning that they can stand on their own too, because you did it. So, I mean, even if, and people might say, well, I don't have a big, just you standing in your truth is huge. So don't, weigh it down where some people would be like, well, you're not doing all this. You just did this. Well, you know what? I stood in that, in my truth. And I know there's others that might have the same thing that I dealt with, and they need to see that so they know to stand in their truth. So always look at it as this all as a bigger picture. You're standing in your truth, love your truth, own your truth, and don't never underestimate it at all of what you're doing.
I love that. And I like that example that some people may say, well, look at all that you have, or you have these TV shows, or you're doing this speaking, and I'm just here. Well, your just may be a critical role in your family, a critical role in your circle of friends, a critical role at work. Again, where is your sphere of influence? Because we all have it. And now how does that purpose show up? And it may not come overnight. It may take you going through experience to finally say, it's clear. And when you're in it, all the provisions and resources that you need start lining up. Yeah. And the momentum starts building. So people will see certain successes, right, Barbara? You're like, oh, life is so easy. Look, Barbara has this, and this, and you're like, ooh, you didn't see the dark nights, right? You didn't see the pain and suffering. You're seeing the celebration, but you're not seeing the journey. Yeah. So keep in mind, when Esther was called upon to speak to the king and save her people, she had been the queen for years. She didn't just become queen one day and the next day Mordecai's like, hey, we need some help. No.
It's preparation. No. Yeah.
Preparation. And I've got to share this because I'm a strategist. She strategically positioned herself and her message for the right time. Timing is everything, ladies and gentlemen. Timing is everything. You can preempt that divine timing because you're just I got to get it done. But if you sit and listen and lean in, sometimes there's no, I need you to wait for a minute. I need you to put that on the back burner for a minute because I'm developing you over here. Then I'm going to bring it back around. Timing is everything. I just want to say before we leave, and I want to ask you, Barbara, how would you like to close this out? Is if you're feeling that tug in your heart, and you know that you're supposed to be doing something, but you're not quite certain, reach out to individuals like Barbara who helps guide you to uncovering your purpose. If you're a person who has a spiritual relationship with your higher power, for me it's God, pray, ask for discernment, ask for clarity.
Yes.
Right? Even going back to some very practical steps in, let me look at my value system. Let me assess who's in my circle. Sometimes it's cleaning house that will ultimately give you that clarity of sight. Because if you got a lot of noise, the wrong people in your circle, you're not going to hear it, you're not going to see it. Barbara.
Yeah, I sometimes you have to clean house, and sometimes the house gets cleaned automatically, and you don't even realize it until after the fact and say, okay, thank you. I didn't have to do that cleaning. That was just kind of like, okay, didn't need, somebody else did that, or it happened a different way. But the biggest thing I want to just leave real quickly is just going back to, however way you're going to understand to get it to understand your purpose and what you need to do. You need to do it the way you need to do it. See, a lot of people feel like, oh, y'all got to go this and meditate, or I got to do yoga, or, the higher power, like LaWanna said, or what have you. But you have to do for you what's going to work to get that out of you. I got it out of me through a lot of prayer, I did a mixture. It was a mixture. The biggest thing is my higher power is God, but other people might need something else to move them in that situation to say, oh, this is what I'm about. It might take something real huge in your life to say, all this time I was feeling this way, and now I understand what my purpose is. So look for the signs, look for the flags, and make sure it's not just somebody else talking in your ear, but it's your inner voice talking to you saying, that's it. And when you do find it, as I always say, like we've been saying, stand on it, believe in it, be true in it, and know that you are doing what you need to do because that's who you are.
I want to make sure I have the right information. If they want to reach you, it's a Diamond Factor Experience at gmail.com. I put that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or on all things social media. Okay, I'm going to make that correction. I got the wrong information there. So please reach out to Barbara if you have questions about your purpose and how can you uncover it. If you just want to know her story, if you're looking for someone who to be a speaker, to talk about purpose. She talks about purpose, passion, and drive. And you can say, well, there's a lot of people out there speaking about purpose. There are, but there's only one Barbara Beckley who has a story about why her company's called the Diamond Factor. You might want to have her on your stage. Might be pleasantly surprised. And for those of you, again, that just want to dig a little deeper, have a 20-day devotional, get this book. You can get it on Kindle. Real simple. Download it. Esther by David Ramos. Chosen with Esther by David Ramos. And it's a simple read, but the work comes in asking yourself the hard questions. That's where the work comes in. So are you committed to you? Are you sold out for you? That you are going to live with purpose, with intent. That when it's all said and done, you know that you have fulfilled your calling. And you know the world will remember your name. I'm LaWanna Bradford with Power of the Pen. We encourage you, speak up. Don't be afraid to use the power of the pen. And always remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, bye everyone.